What's up, my people? I be Douglas here. It's another beautiful Saturday for another exciting video. Guys, we've reached 100 subscribers. This is another huge milestone. I can remember when we were like 30 something subscribers, we moved to 50, we moved to 75, and now we are 100 plus subscribers. I couldn't have done this without your love and support. Firstly, I want to thank God. I want to give God all the glory. He has been the one who has helped me from the beginning of this tutorial. His grace, His mercy, His wisdom, guiding me through every single video and improving. It's all Him. And I also want to thank you guys because God has used you guys to also be a major support to this channel. Thank you so much for your feedbacks, your shares, liking the videos, watching the videos, sharing the videos. It's all been super amazing. So in the spirit of appreciation, I have a thank you package for you guys in the description below. Relax, cool down. So what's contained in the package is the PSD files of all the poster design breakdowns I have done till date. So from the first poster design breakdown video I've done till this current one I'm shooting today, till this current one I'm doing today, you have access to all the PSD files in that package folder in the link description below. So do well to check it out, download them and practice along the videos as we watch. Let me know what you think about the package when you've accessed it in the comments below. If you're new to this channel, today is your lucky day, so you also have access to it in the description below. And don't also forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications for future videos that will be dropping every Saturday. So today I'm going to be doing something different from the usual. I know we've done lots of birthday poster breakdowns and we've also done a wedding poster breakdown. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how I was able to achieve this church poster design with Photoshop. All right, so I'm going to turn off my second artboard because it's still the same thing. The only thing I just did here was to change the color with my hue, and we're going to focus on this one. Let's bring this guy here properly. So I'm going to explain the reason why I did what I did before I can turn off my artboards and then start from the scratch on how I arranged the elements. So the topic is faith and finance, the God factor in wealth creation. So when I got this topic, I had to do a research on, first and foremost, what this topic is all about, and then I also had to understand what kind of colors and what kind of illustrations would best describe this topic for the target audience. Now, it's a Bible study design, so this is something that usually helps me. This is something that helps me, and I also think it would also be of good use to you. Whenever you're embarking on any design project, try to know the target audience of who you're designing for. Your job as a designer is to provide a solution, is to solve a problem. You don't just create aesthetically pleasing designs. You solve problems even if it is aesthetically pleasing, but it should be able to pass the right message to the right audience. So in this instance, I'm doing a Bible study design for a target audience of both young and old people. So I'm not just doing a young people's design, I'm not doing an old people's design. I'm doing a mixed congregation or a mixed target audience of within the youthful age, that's from 20 and above till 60, 70, right? So I had it at the back of my mind that I have to do something interesting, but not too playful and not too serious. So it's in the middle. By the way, this design or some concepts of this design was inspired by a design, right? Like I always mention in my previous videos, I get inspirations from existing designs on any design project I'm working on. And so this design was inspired by this one. Now, when I mean by inspired was I got inspiration with some kind of elements. If you could notice, there are some kind of elements here that you would see on this design. Some kind of elements here that you will see on this design, right? You can see this thing coming out from here, and then the same thing, this one is coming out. So yeah, this was, see this kind of this, right? Join us this Sunday, join us this Wednesday. So you could actually see this design. So this is House on the Rock Port Harcourt design. Was done by Manuel Echebe. I've mentioned him in my previous videos. Do well to check him out on Instagram. He is a fantastic, superb designer. Did they finish work? So this is where I got the inspiration from, based on arrangements, right? So you could see some similarities. Okay, but the choice of color and the illustration used is what I'm going to explain to you as we progress. Okay, good. So based on this topic, I needed to understand, like I explained earlier, my target audience, it's both the young and old people. It's a Bible study, so right, it's a mixed congregation, and so I had to ask my brother in the Lord, which is ChatGPT, yes, and to give me like a brief explanation on what this topic is and how it is of significance or importance to this age bracket. And so ChatGPT gave me some explanations, and it also added some scriptural backings to it, which I'm sure you would see one of the scriptures here as well, right? Deuteronomy 8:18, where it says, "Remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you power to get wealth," okay, and all that. So all those things were like scriptural backings relating to this topic. And so I asked ChatGPT further, what color combinations, what fonts and illustration would best describe this topic? And ChatGPT gave me a very remarkable result. Because of time, I might not like literally go to ChatGPT and show you those results, but it's there. But these were the things I did. So as a designer, it's very, very important to incorporate AI. If you've not been incorporating AI into your process as a designer, or more, you are missing out. I mean, this is 2025. We are already in the world of AI, and it's not something that you need to be reminded on. It's something you need to actually like intentionally do. So incorporate AI so that AI won't take your job. All right, I'm just kidding. So yeah, but on a serious note, incorporate AI in your design process. So that was what I did, and it gave me different colored results, color options, and also kind of illustrations to use. So that's how I was able to arrive at this illustration, like a Bible with money, and also this kind of colors, the green and milkish yellow effect and the brown effect. So when you see this kind of design, what comes to your mind? Faith and finance. Finance talks about, finance is money, so definitely the green has to be there. And then this yellow background, or the creamish background, is kind of is a complementary color, something to complement the green. This image actually was generated with image effects. So when I got the image recommendations from ChatGPT, right, I used one of the results and imputed it into image effects. Do well to check out image effects. It's a remarkable AI tool for generating images. All you need to do is to understand what kind of prompts you are imputing in it, right? So check it out. For every project you are working on, it requires a certain kind of research you need to do, right? So because this is a church poster, there are some additional things I needed to do. This is not something I could just be playing around. So yeah, there was more intentionality in this. Okay, so I'm just going to turn off my adboards, and I'm going to now start from the scratch on what I was able to do to achieve this effect. So if you've learned something from what I've been saying so far, do well to drop it in the comment section below. And yeah, let's continue. So I'm going to turn off all my adboards. I'm just going to show you how I was able to arrange this. So my cream color, it's already there. I now added a pattern to this. Like I said, whenever I try to, if I want to infuse a pattern to my background, I always convert it to black and white. So that's why you see the black and white effect. I can remove that effect, put it on normal, and put the opacity here. This is the effect, right? So this is the texture pattern that I used. But converted it to black and white, and then I used the difference effect. Yeah, I used the difference blend mode effect, and then I reduced my opacity to 10%. So you could see the texture, but yeah, it's a little bit not to be, my background. I don't want my background to be noisy or distracting in the design, because there is a message that I want to pass. Okay, so next thing I then now added was faith and finance. The font I used here was authority. So it's just faith, finance, faith, finance. Yeah, that was what I did there. So sorry guys, let me hit on my move to. So faith, finance, I'm gonna lock this guy so I won't move it. So faith, finance, just typed it, faith, finance, faith, finance, faith, finance, and then I just tweet, rotated it, and then just played around with arrangement. So yeah, that's what I did for that. So the next thing I now did was to add my title. Now you see that I didn't take it up here because I know I was going to add the church logo and all that. So I left a little space at the top for me to add the logo. I didn't just take it up there. There's going to be a logo, so that's why I left that space. And now my choice of these fonts, I know, yes, I searched ChatGPT for it, but as you can see, since the words faith starts from letter F, finance starts from letter F. Okay, so I said instead of just writing faith and writing finance separately, why not use the one letter that is in common between these words, which is F, to substitute and merge them. And that's why I said, okay, let me use F for faith and finance. So you get the gist. I know I've said so much, but you get the gist, right? So the name of this font, let me check it out here. Bricktown. I think that's the name of also the font I used here. Let's check it out. That was also the same font I used here. Okay, so I used Play Fair Display for this, and then the one that I used here was Bricktown. So the reason why I changed it was I wanted it to catch attention. I wanted people's eyes to grasp this, right? Normally, if I wanted to use the Playfair display, its Playfair display would also make sense, but I just wanted something interesting, right? I wanted something interesting. This is Playfair display. If I'm to use Playfair display, this is it. If I'm to use it, right? So it will be good, but I just wanted to do something interesting. So I used a different font for it, which is the Bricktown. So I just used that to merge this together and put it in a box just to separate the faith and finance. Okay, and then added this font. This is Lexen. Added the subtopic, the God factor in wealth creation. So that's how I was able to achieve that. You could see how I used colors to also differentiate the focus or the headline and the subheading. So faith and finance, this is the major part of the headline, right? Which I used a different color, green, which will depict the faith and finance, and then using a complementary color, which is brown, to write the subheading, the God factor in wealth creation, and also to put in the box. And now these things were done with intentionality, so one can easily see the message, faith, finance, and then you can also see the subheading. Yeah, sorry, I had to explain this in detail so you could understand why I did what I did. It's the essence of the poster breakdown. All right, guys. So the next thing I now did was to add my illustration, which is the Bible. So I just did some few things, just worked on the vibrance. If I remove my vibrance, if I remove my hue and saturation, yeah, this is it. I added a drop shadow to this. I added a drop shadow to this illustration. I didn't want it to just look as if it's hanging on the air. So I added a drop shadow so it looks like as if it's being placed on something, right? And then hue and saturation, the hue and saturation, the green there, the green was, the contrast of that green was, the saturation of the green was too much. So I added hue and saturation to reduce that effect. And then I added a little bit of vibrance to give me a color that, somehow matches with, what's on my background. I would have left it like this. This would have still worked, but yeah, I wanted to give this a different kind of feel to it. And then you see how it was also placed at the front, covering some letters of the subheading under the major headline, right? Under the major heading. So just did that to make it a bit interesting. And then the next thing I did was to now add my write-up. So this is like the write-up. So with the context that I generated from ChatGPT, the explanation of the topic, that's actually what is here. But it's not for your eyes. It's not for the viewers to read. It's like a style, right? It's like a style. So just imputed the text here on the background to make it look interesting. Mind you, you can see how subtle it is. It's not that visible where I want it to come and no. You could see if I wrote it visible like this, you could see that it's distracting the viewer from actually focusing on the topic and illustration. And that's why I had to reduce the opacity and use a different blend mode. So it's there, but it's like more of adding more beauty to the background, and it's more like adding more beauty to the background of design. And then I also duplicated it here as well. Sorry, let me zoom this out for you guys. All right, and so the next thing I now added was my scripture. Like I told you, there were scriptural backings I got from my research. I had to add one of this one. This one was like the first scripture that came in, and then I looked at it. It actually relates to the topic very well. Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 18. And I rotated it this way because I wanted this design to be balanced. Now, if I had written it this way, right, the way people would normally, yeah, it would go, but it won't give me, because of how I'm already arranging this design, I will start looking for a place to put it. It can literally go if I put it this way, but I wanted it to be different from the usual. So I know, yes, people would see this. I know people have seen designs like that. So okay, why not just do something different? So I just rotated it, right? And then I placed it. There was a position I placed it, right? And that was very, very intentional. You could see that it's on the same line with this. It's on the same line with the other one. So I did that, and also still having at the back of my mind my margin. So the spacing here and the spacing here are also to try to make sure that the spacing is also even, in as much as I added this to it. Yeah, so that was just what I did. So added that scripture just to add to that, and then the next thing I did, no, this pattern came a little bit last. The next thing I did was to add my picture. So I added my picture. That's my papa, Pastor George Isunwa. Added his name to it. So you could see here, added ministry. There, like I said, when you design with intentionality. For every element you use, there is a purpose for it. It's not just put what you want to put. There is a purpose for it. So put ministering in the box with an arrow, so it guides the eyes of the viewer. We humans, we read from left to right naturally. So when you see this ministering from left, the arrow guides you who the person is, pastor under George Izunwa. And you could see how I played with the principle of hierarchy and emphasis, knowing which one should be bold and which one should be thinner in font weight. So the pastor, George Izunwa, which is a subject, was bold, and then you can see that the pastor was a bit thinner, but also to, you get the point. All right, so yeah, that's it. And then I think the next thing I added was these lines. I added these lines. Now, these lines was also serving like a base to the scripture, and it was also going to point down to the date and time. So in as much as it served as a base, putting this line here, serving as a base, but was also going to point down to the date and time, which we're going to see next. So added, join us this Wednesday. So when you look at this, you look at the scripture, the arrow brings you down to look at this. Join us this Wednesday. Added my date and time to this. And then I started adding other details, which is the address after, and then add social media handles. And then the next thing, just added the other things I'm meant to add on these designs. These are like the social media handle section, right? Everything I need to add concerning the church brand, okay, radio, this TV, and all that. And so that's what I added there. And then the next thing I also did to make this more interesting, like I said, from the inspiration I got here, you could see some things that are similar. So I've done this guy. You could see the arrow. You could see how this was actually pointing to the color palette that was used and also Jesus. So you could see that. And this, my own, was using this to serve as a base for the scripture and then pointing down to this. And then you could see where this was also added, Quantum Leap, that was for them. And then for this, I added Bible study service. So yes, the reason why I added Bible study service was to give a more detailed context of what this poster is all about. So in as much as it's a church poster, but what kind of poster is it? It's a Bible study poster. So that was why I just added that to give it, I could have removed it, right? But I just wanted to give more context, and like I said, inspiration from what has already done. I said, okay, what will I use? What will I use? And I said, oh, it's a Bible study design. So let me just use Bible study service. And that was how I was able to achieve that. And then the next thing I now added some playful lines just to fill up some spaces and make the background look interesting. And yeah, my pattern, let's go back to that pattern. I didn't add that. Where is it? Yeah, this is it. So I added a pattern, got this pattern from Pinterest, search for patterns, right? I actually added like a cover, it's a white pattern. And so I did color overlay and used the same color that I'm using here for this and added it to the back. Yeah, just to fill up that space, because when I'd added everything here, there was so much space here. I just needed something to, balance up that place. So that was why I added the pattern there to balance it up. So with this picture, so the spacing here and the spacing here is even. So that was why I did that. And then the last things I now did was to add the church logos. So WordX, that's our Word Explosion service, which is our Bible study service. And then also added the church logo itself, which is Gateway International Church. So that was what I did. And then, the last thing I did was to convert all layers to one image, which you guys already know the shortcut which we use here, which is your Shift Control Alternate E, which gives you a single image from all the layers of the design. And then I also convert to Smart Object, and I go to my camera raw. Yeah, I use a shortcut for it. That's like a customized shortcut. But if you want to just convert to Smart Object once you've created this, let's undo. You just right click here and you will see convert to Smart object. Okay, so that was what I did. I had to convert to smart object, so it will be easier for me to change the effects I'm going to add to that design, right? So converted to smart objects, went to my camera raw with the general shortcut Shift Control A. So over here, I can just make some little changes. Try to, we will say, make it pop. Add my grains here, bring out some bit of the texture so some things could be seen from the background, but you don't want to make it too much. So just put it here and just play around with it and see what you can achieve to make what you've already done uh, a bit spicier, if we say that. Okay, just play around. So just play, and then click on OK and you're done. I'm going to dismiss all these changes because I already have one. So this is it, and then added my camera roll. Not too much change, but yeah, there is a change. And that is how I was able to achieve this design. And then what I simply did was to now duplicate my artboard. Now, shortcut to duplicating your artboard, select your current artboard that you're selecting, hold your alternate key and bring your arrow here. Sorry, hold your alternate key and you click. You see what is happening? Once you hold your alternate key and you click and drag, you see this double arrow that is showing here? It just duplicates. Sorry guys, let's do this properly. It duplicates, and you see that my artboard has been duplicated. So all you just need to do is hold your shift key and move. Just hold your shift key and move so it can be, yeah, properly straightened and all. You can rename your artboards. I like renaming my artboards. I just give them artboard 1, artboard 2, and the case may be. So this is our second artboard. And then what I just did was to just change the color, just to make it interesting for social media. So when I just post a different slide, instead of just when you see the main design, you can also see a different color on it. So I went here and then I picked this color. It's like my color picker. I picked this. It gave me this, and so I could say, okay, let me start making some changes. I knew that this was going to affect. Remember when I said in my previous videos, if you want to change color of something, sometimes it can affect the entire color because of also some elements of that color you selected might also be on the image. So because this is yellow, anything I'm changing here, you see that is also affecting the image as well, right? So I didn't want to do that. So what I now did was, okay, I have another way of changing colors, which I've explained. Aside from hue and saturation, you can also change colors in your camera raw, or you can even use color overlay. But in this instance, I'm going to use camera raw. I'm going to show you why I used camera raw. So let's go to our camera raw. So this is our camera raw, and then I'll go to color mixer. Go to this section here, color mixer. Here too, you could also change any color depending on what is on the design. So you could see that there are greens on these designs, right? So yeah, just went to my color mixer because I know this is like one of the simplest ways to change colors, especially if you don't want it to affect the image, right? You could just go to your camera raw, and if you don't have an image on the background, right, that some elements are not going to be affected by that color you choose, right? You could do that with your hue and saturation, but this is also a second option I'm showing. So because I know that I have greens here, so I just selected this, and then you see I started changing the color, and you see that it's not affecting the image because it's now properly focused on that color that I want to change. So you see what is changing here, and that's how I was able to achieve this kind of brownish effect. And then I click on OK. You see that is if change has done, and then we've arrived at our church poster design. Yeah, so we have come to the end of this video. Let me know what you think about this poster design breakdown in the comments below. I know we spent a little time because I needed to explain the reason why I did what I did in terms of color choice, in terms of research, illustration, arrangements, and all that. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Is this something you would want us to continually do in our future videos? Do well to drop that in the comments below. Don't forget to like and share this video with a designer today, and also hit the subscribe button and turn on post notification bell so you can be among the first people to be notified when a new video drops. Okay, thank you so much guys once again for staying with me through this channel. Hope you also enjoyed the thank you package, the PSD files, this file, and every other design breakdown that I've done. You have access to all of them. Go around, play with it, use the elements, just be creative. Let me know what you think about them in the comment section below. So guys, seeing you guys next Saturday. Peace.